Hello everyone, today I'll be making HMS Black Swan in 1 through 50 scale from World of Warships. So the reason I chose the Black Swan is actually pretty funny. I was inspired to do this ship because of this meme.
Oh dear, what is it? I've spontaneously combusted.
Oh, I am sorry.
Oh, it's quite all right. I've grown tired of living.
Ah, very good then.
For the best. Yes, indeed.
Is it raining?
So the first step I do is I scale the model. I go in World of Warships ship tool and I sort out the ship that I want, in this case Black Swan. I find that she is 91 meters long, and then I go and divide by 350 for the model scale size. That will be 26 centimeters. Once I've gotten that, I'll be able to scale. I use this 3D model to gauge the rough size and kind of like a blueprint for the ship model as I'm making it. This allows me to make the entire thing on Onshape, whereas I don't use any cardboard at all for this build. Everything's designed online. So I then port the files from Onshape onto a Glowforge where I cut the stuff out. This footage is from May because I need to cut the stuff out earlier before the school year was out because the Glowforge is from my school. I cut this ship out in 5 separate pieces, although I did cut out 6 of them just to make sure the scale part didn't get any wrong. So after the hull, then I add the superstructure. The darker piece of wood is thinner, so it's a composite piece. Then, once I have all the pieces ready, so for hull assembly, I get super glue and I glue each of the pieces together. I try and use minimal amount of glue in case anything goes wrong. Note that I do leave one of the pieces out because as I built it, I realized that with the slightly thinner dark brown piece, it scaled better. So now, with a hobby knife, I then give a rough shape to the bottom of the hull where, you know, all the ships have a slightly rounded edges on their hull instead of being a 90-degree angle. And because this is all wood, I can do this a bit more. So I first give it just a rough edge of how it will look. And I do have to be a bit careful in here because the knife is a bit sharp. And I just get the edges down. So I'm cutting out the bottom 2 layers, and because it's plywood, it's much easier to cut. And for the bow, I'll leave that to sanding. So I cut the forward part and I also cut the back part with a little bit of a smaller angle because it's not as thick. So after all the cutting is done, then I go on to do sanding. So with sanding, I'm able to get the angle down to a much nicer angle instead of the rough sharpness when I cut it with my knife on the first time. Then with the sanding bar, I'm also able to sand the forward part of the prow of the ship, allowing all of the different layers of the wood to be better hidden, as with sanding, you won't be able to see where each one ends. So basically all the wood pieces disappear into each other, which is pretty nice. I do sand for quite some time. And then after I sand the hull, I sand the sides a little bit as well to remove some of the imperfections because there were a little bit of angles when I was making it. So once all of that is done, there was so much that I had to clean up. So once all of that is done, I wipe it down and then let it dry for a bit. Then I began to paint the hull, the bottom hull, red. The paint, for some reason, I got it at Hobby Lobby. It was super watery and it took forever for it to dry, which is kind of annoying. So in the interim, I assembled some small bits of the superstructure and then began to paint the superstructure the classic British gray. So I was just doing that while the main hull waited. So this is the forward superstructure, and then this teardrop shaped thing will be the anti-aircraft pedestal in the back. And I'm painting the upper superstructure, and now with this dried, I then paint the pedestal for the back gun. Here's the hull painted, the weather deck, and then I have the forward superstructure installed along with the little guns in the front. Those are actual AA gun models for my larger battleships, but they're small, so I can just put them on here. Here, I've clear cut and I got the basic shape of the superstructure on there. I just have to add the details. It's really small. Like, it's tiny. Here are the propellers and the propeller shafts. Rudder is still waiting to be installed. Here's some of the details done. And here are most of the details and the masts done. This is the completed model of HMS Black Swan. You can see that I did something slightly different with the rigging this time. I used this rigging wire here to make it look much more realistic compared to the previous ships where their rigging would have looked too wide. So, it's a very small ship, and I used the full wooden construction of it. I think I did it pretty nice. It's a pretty cute little ship. Ship doesn't have too much detail aboard it, but I think it looks good enough. Got the superstructure there. I added this little roof on here, so I think it looks pretty cute with the little roof. Overall, it's just a small ship. It's a fun build that I put up in like a day. So, yeah, thanks for watching, like, and subscribe.